Assalamu alaikum students. The topic for today's video is shadows. When the word shadow is taken, you can imagine a dark shape, a black shape. So what are shadows? Let us see. How are they formed? What are the different types of shadows? Their characteristics, and are shadows useful to man? Let us see all this in today's video. How is a shadow formed? When light is falling from an object, and if you try to block this light, you will get a shadow. As you know, light travels in a straight line. You need an opaque object to block the light. So when you're blocking the light, a shadow is formed. As you can see in this image, light is coming out from the source, and the man comes and stands in front of that light. So his shadow is seen behind him. This is how shadow is formed. So shadow is formed when light is blocked. And when light is blocked, the object through which light is blocked should be an opaque object, because light shouldn't pass through that object. So as I said, object should be opaque, or object can be translucent also. In a translucent object, the materials allow some light to pass through them. So you will get a blur shadow. But with opaque objects, if the light is blocked, you will get a dark shadow. If you keep a transparent object in the path of the light, you won't get a shadow. We will not get a shadow because light will pass through that transparent object. As you can see in this image, the window is having, it's a glass window, it's a transparent glass window. So here, why transparent glass windows are fitted in the houses? Because during daytime, light can pass through that transparent glass and it can enter the house, and sometimes we don't need light also in the house. Why? Because the transparent substance allows the light to come into our house. So this is how, based on the material, shadows are formed. So shadows can only be formed when light is blocked by opaque object or translucent object. Shadows cannot be formed when light is blocked by a transparent object. Now there are different sizes of shadows. It depends on the time of the day. At midday, when the sun is just above us, that is midday, that is at 12 noon in the morning, 12 o'clock. At that time, the sun is just above us. So here in this image, you can see that at midday, the sun is exactly directly right up the tree. So here, the tree, the shadow of the tree will be a short shadow. So during midday, the shadows are short. What happens in the early morning? In the early morning, the sun is low. So at that time, the object will cast a long shadow. So during early mornings, shadows are long. While in the evening also, again the sun sets, so it is again lower in the sky. So even in the evening, again the sun is lower in the sky. So at that time also, the shadows are long. So during morning and during evening, during early morning and evening, the shadows are long, while in afternoon, shadows are short due to the position of the sun. Now, The shadows also depends on where the light source is and where the object with which we are blocking the light is placed. So, if the object is closer to the light source, the shadows are bigger. But if the light source is far away and the object which is blocking the light, that is also far away, further away from the light source, then we get small shadows. So here, as you can see in this image, the object is far from the screen. In the first image, the object is far from the screen. So as you move the object closer to the screen, the shadows become small, the shadows get smaller. There are two types of shadows. The first one is umbra, the second is penumbra. The region of deep total shadow is called as the dark part, the deep dark total shadow is called as the umbra, while the region of partial shadow is called the penumbra. So as you can see in this image, the dark part is penumbra, while the light grey one, the dark one is the umbra and the light grey one is the penumbra. So penumbra is formed when partial shadow is formed, okay, but umbra is formed when the region is totally dark and the shadow is completely dark. Now earth also casts a shadow. All the objects on the earth, they cast shadow with the natural light, that is the main source of light on earth is the sun. So if sun's light falls on the tree will cast a shadow on the earth. If you are standing on the ground and if there is sunlight falling on you from in either side, depends on the time of the day, of course your shadow will also be created, it will be cast on the ground. Now let's see what are the characteristics of shadow. The shape of the shadow increases or decreases with the distance from the source. It depends on the position of the object where the object is. If it is closer or if it is far away, that also is one of the characteristics of a shadow. It also depends on the shape of the object. The shadow increases and decreases in the ratio same as the shape of the object. So if an object is small, then the shadow will be small. If the object is tall, a longer object, then it will have a larger shadow. Shadows are always black in color. Shadows are large or same size of that of the object. Shadows need a screen for being formed. You cannot see a shadow unless and until there is some screen or there is a wall behind or there is a surface behind where you can see the shadow. So if light is falling from left hand side and the object is blocked in between, the shadow will be cast on the opposite side, that is the right side. The position of the light source also plays an important role in formation of a shadow. So if the source is closer to the object, the shadow will be small. But if you take the source of light, if you take a torch and if you keep it closer to a ball and you observe the shadow on the wall, you will observe a small ball on the wall. The shadow of the ball will be small. But then if you take the torch far away at a greater distance and then you block that torch light with the ball, then you will observe that the ball is casting a longer or a bigger shadow on the wall. So the source is closer, shadow is smaller. If the source is further away, then the shadow is longer. Shadows are black as you must be wondering why shadows are black in color. So shadows are black in color because the visible light, what's the color of the visible light? The color of the visible light is white light. Actually, this visible white light is made up of 7 colors, that is Vibgyor: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. But then when we get this visible light from the sun, it observes to be a white light. So when this white light is obstructed by an object, we get black shadows. The object absorbs all the light. So what happens as soon as you keep the object in between, all the light which was passing through the object absorbs all that light, and then there is no light left to fall on the other side. So the shadows which are formed on the other side of the object, they are dark in color. Now, are there any uses of shadows to man? Shadow can be used to man? Yes. As you can see in this image, it's an art, shadow art. It's called as shadow art. So shadows are they are used to heighten the illusion of depth in a painting. So in a painting, if here this is a painting, it's a painting where the concept of shadows is formed. So it's creating an illusion, it's creating a depth in the painting. So the paint artists, they use the concept of shadows to create or to highlight or to bring illusion or depth in their painting. Shadows also provide us the evidence that light travels in a straight line. Here, if you see, there is a statue in between, and the shadow of the statue is falling on the ground. Here the light which is falling from the sun is far away from the earth. That is why you are seeing that the distance between the object and the source is greater. So if the distance is greater, shadows are longer. So here shadows is helping us to judge the shape of the object. If you don't see the statue, if you just see the shadow of the statue, you can guess that yes, this shadow is of a human structure, isn't it? So by seeing the shadow, you can guess or you can judge what object is it, whose shadow we are seeing. So if you are seeing a shadow of a ball, you will find a circular shadow. So you can guess that yes, some circular object is kept. This shadow belongs to some circular object. So you can guess the object, you can judge the shape of the object with its shadow. So this is how shadows can be useful for man. Thank you.